Evening, hockey family. Welcome to Trapped Under Ice, Episode 3. So, as I stated in the teaser, we're going to be talking about the big question. How can my child improve in the off-season enough so to go from maybe Metro to Rep, or one tier of Rep to the highest level of Rep? A to AAA, AA to AAA, Metro to AA, something like that. How do I make this jump? As we all know, the teams that are rep teams, AAA, AA, etc., tend to have more ice time and more development than the Metro level and the B or A levels. So how does a kid make a jump from Metro into rep in hockey? Because ultimately, a lot of the times the chips are sort of stacked against them. And this is a frustration that all parents get into and players get into and everything else. And where players become complacent, for lack of a better term, at just playing at a certain level and not succeeding to break through that glass ceiling that they've set in front of themselves and move to that next level of hockey. So how do you do it? This is the question I get the most from parents and players. How do I improve enough to overtake the people ahead of me? Well, the easy answers. Practice. You got to practice more. You got to work harder. You got to work on your shot, your skating, your positioning, your stick handling, your passing, all that. You have to get better. Okay, pretty easy answer, very hard to actually execute. Especially if you don't have the guidance and the knowledge to do what's right to get there. So, I'd said in the teaser that this is not an easy answer, and it's not the answer that you're going to be looking for. But from my experience, this is the best answer I can give, aside from that easy one I just went through. How do you break through to that next level of hockey and push yourself beyond the plateau that you currently find yourself at now? How do you push your child to step into that next level of hockey and really elevate their game? Like I said, the easy answers, just get better. But here's the true answer. And this is something that happens with a lot of players that I've seen and that I grew up with playing that just all of a sudden started to excel. And it was actually a mindset change that they had. They decided, they made a choice that they were going to get better. Now that sounds easy. Sounds simple. Oh, I'm just going to get better. I've decided that. Once again, easy to say, very hard to execute. But if we break it down, what that actually means, to change your mindset and decide and make the choice that you're going to become better, this is actually what it falls into. And I'm going to get rid of one of the big ones right out of the gates about changing your mindset. Talent and skill, natural talent and natural skill versus hard work. We all know there are players out there that have a natural affinity for this game. They can pick up certain things, and they seem to have a natural talent for certain areas of the game. Stick handling, shooting, skating, whatever. That's true, and that gives them a bit of a leg up. But if you work at something hard enough, long enough, and properly, you will become an expert at it. This is what you have to accept. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. So if this is what you've decided that you want to do, that you want to become better at hockey or soccer or whatever it was that you wanted to become better at, you know that there's a time commitment and an effort commitment that comes along with that. So talent and work ethic kind of go hand in hand. And this is the crux of this scenario. You can have natural talent and natural skill, and you can have a work ethic. One of these two things needs the other. If you have talent and skill, but you don't have a work ethic, then the talent and the skill goes to waste. It's worthless. Because you're not working to master it. You're not working to temper it and hone it into a functional skill that you can execute out on the ice. So that gets lost. Also, if the child gets complacent that, oh, I'm naturally talented at this, so I don't have to work at it, again, the talent gets lost and it falls to the wayside. But hard work can allow you to become talented at anything if you're willing to put in the time and the effort. John Tavares is my favorite example of this, and this is a quote straight from him. I'm not the most talented guy out here, but I guarantee I'll be the guy that works the hardest. I will never be outworked by somebody else on the ice. And that has served him very well in his career. So, when you're talking between these two sides, the talent versus the hard work, I was not the most talented player, never was. But I got direction and coaching from some great coaches. And since I had made up my mind and I chose to become the best skater I could be, or have the best shot I could have, or work on my stick handling until I didn't even have to think about it, and I was guided by these coaches and truly listened to what they had to say and tried to replicate it and execute it and allowed them to critique me and give me constructive criticism and adjust my game, their education and their leadership, along with my drive and dedication to becoming better, is what cemented my elevation in hockey. That's what gave me that ability to jump from a Metro level to a AAA level in one single year. And it'll work at different levels for different people. But like I just mentioned, the fact that I was able to listen to these coaches and take everything they said and internalize it, understand it, and then execute it out on the ice, that made a huge difference. That comes to the next point when I say changing a mindset, is a focus. You have to be laser focused on what you want. Understand it completely. Understand that it's not going to be as easy as just making the choice and then it happens. You have to be focused, and when I say this, I mean it everything. When you step onto the ice for a practice, and even more so during a tryout, you should be laser focused on the words that are coming out of the coach's mouth. When they're explaining a drill, or explaining why you're doing a drill, or explaining how this is going to fit with something else that you just previously worked on to improve your game as an individual and as a team or as a line, that is important. Listen, understand, internalize, and execute. That's the biggest thing. The other side of this coin, and I'm going to say this to everybody that's going to be going out to tryouts, focus on what the coach is saying and understand it. Ask a question if you have to, or two, or three, for clarity. It allows you to truly understand. It shows that you are fully engaged and focused at the task at hand. It doesn't mean you're stupid or you don't understand it because you're not that good of a player. No, it shows that you truly want to understand this so you can execute it the best way you possibly can. Coaches remember two players that are on the ice. The ones that are engaged, that understand, that ask questions for clarity, and execute things properly. And they remember the ones that don't listen, have no focus, are screwing around, and act like they don't even care if they're there or not. Those are the two kids that coaches truly remember. Now, the next one is commitment on this list of mindset changes, is making a commitment to this. And I'll go a little deeper in a minute, but the idea of commitment is giving 100% to a goal or a dream or whatever you want to call it, a focus, what have you. Is committing everything that you have to this. You make a commitment when you step onto the ice for a team. You make a commitment to the team, to the coaches, to your parents who have paid your way to be there, and to yourself, that you're going to bring the best you can to this team to elevate them. That's what a commitment is. There is no wiggle room in this. There is no exit strategy. There's no easy option. It's a straight line, and it's not an easy one. It's an uphill battle. Because every day you have to go out and do what is necessary to become a better player to improve your team and yourself because you made that commitment. There's an analogy that goes along with this. If you want to take the island, burn the ships. And this was the whole idea that back in Middle Ages and whatnot, if people were attacking an island, they would go there under sail ship, arrive at the island to have a war with this other faction. And if you had the ships there, you always had an exit strategy. You always had a way out. So if things went bad, whatever, you could leave. When I say if you want to take the island, burn the ships is a true definition of commitment, that's what I mean. If you burn the ships, there is no exit strategy. There's no way out. There's no other option. You have to move forward. And that's what commitment is about. You make a decision, you make a choice, and you see it through. You do whatever is necessary to make this happen. And one of the things that I think a lot of kids, and a lot of parents, and a lot of players don't do enough of, set yourself some goals. Beginning of the season, halfway through the season, end of the season, a couple of different goals that you want to tick off your list by the end of the season, right? I want to score 20 goals in a season. I want to get X number of assists. I want my plus minus to be plus 10 or plus 20 or whatever. That's what I want. I want to be more involved in the offense if I'm a defenseman. All of these things. I want to become the best face-off man that my team has. All of these things. Write them down. Tell somebody what your goals are. The thing is, if you give yourself a goal but you don't say it out loud or you don't write it down or whatever, you just kind of have it in your head, it's not real. Once you tell somebody what your goal is, it becomes real. It gives it substance. And then you have somebody to hold you accountable to it and push you towards it. That's important. So we have focus, we have commitment, we have goal setting, we have accountability. A lot of these things start to sound kind of like a contract. And that's something that a coach of mine many years ago utilized on us. We signed a contract. And on the contract was a number of things. We would arrive on time for games and practices. If we missed a practice, we pretty much guaranteed ourselves that we wouldn't play the next game unless we had a legitimate excuse. So you couldn't duck practice. You would wear a shirt, tie, and jacket to every game. You would maintain a certain grade point average, things like that. You would attend all your classes. Sounds very Coach Carter, and that's probably where he got it from, but regardless. These are the things that are true. If you sign a contract with yourself, write down your goals. Write down the commitment that you're willing to put forward to this next season. What your focus is going to be. Write it down and sign it. Hang it in your room so every day that you get up, it's staring you in the face as a reminder. A constant reminder that every day you've signed a contract with yourself to become better. That was the mindset change that I saw in a lot of my friends and myself. Once we made that switch, all of a sudden we were dedicated. We were focused and we pushed each other. One of the nice things about hockey is it is such a team sport, but we do go out on the ice and we compete against even our friends for those certain spots on certain teams. But one of the biggest things is you push each other. You challenge each other. Get one of your friends to do the same thing and challenge each other and motivate each other. Don't let each other off the hook. Push each other. Now, that's a lot for a kid. That's a lot for a kid. So the parents have to be involved in this as well. And they have to motivate and inspire, do all those parenting type things. And you have to encourage your kids, push them. But you have to encourage them properly. So when I say that, encouraging your child properly, there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. And this can be utilized in school, this can be utilized in life, this can be utilized in a number of different ways. But right now we're talking in this context of hockey. So remembering always that it's not only your words that have weight, but your tone and your timing are also very important. And I want to get a big one here out of the way real quick. Timing is important. The one thing, and this was a study that was done a number of years ago, the one thing that most minor hockey players hated about hockey was the drive home. And I can contest to this. The drive home for me, if I had a bad game, not if we lost 5-0 or something like that, but if I personally had a bad game, if I wasn't working my hardest, or if I made a couple stupid mistakes, or if I did this or that, a half-hour drive home from the rink with my dad turned into an hour and a half drive home. And from the time I got in the car to the time we got home, he would recite the entire game and every mistake I made from puck drop to buzzer. Every bit of it. Hated it. Hated it. Barely listened. Just wanted it to stop and just wanted to get home. I would have gotten out and walked if I had the option. This is the worst thing you can do because you've confined them. You've trapped them. You're talking, you're not listening. And I'll guarantee your child will just tune out because that's what most kids will do in that situation. They just want you to stop. They feel bad enough. They don't need this reminder for the entire drive home being told how bad they played or all the mistakes they made. And when I was a kid, was around the time when camcorders became a thing. This was the worst thing on the planet, where my dad would videotape the game, sit me down after he chewed me out the entire way home, and go through the game video clips showing me my mistakes over and over again. Now, I understand what he was doing. I understand. He was trying to impress upon me where I could improve and why I played so poorly. And I get that. It was a hard lesson to learn and a bad way to learn it. But I ask, please do not do this to your kids. You can tell them and show them the mistakes that they've made. But you have to also show them how they could have avoided it. Ask them. So you messed up on this one-on-one. What do you think you did wrong? Where did you think you got beat? What would you have done differently if you could do it over again for the next game down the road? So the next time they're in that one-on-one situation, they're thinking to themselves in the back of their mind in that moment, we talked about this. I remember what I need to do now. I need to be more patient and wait for the forward to make his move and then go on the attack instead of attacking first and getting beat. Rather than, oh crap, here comes another one-on-one. If I get beat, I'm going to get yelled at. Not the way to do this. That is not how we should be parenting for hockey players or kids in general. Now, saying your words have weight means a lot. Choosing the words that you want to use here are important. There should never be anything like you were stupid, you were lazy, you were dumb, that was moronic, whatever. It's ask them questions. Why did this happen? Why did you feel like this was the best option? A lot of the times they'll be like, I don't know, I just reacted. Okay, that's fine. Now we can learn from this and we can move forward from this. It's a teaching opportunity. There's this all, like, I've heard the saying a million times. You either win or you learn. One of the two. And this is exactly what this is. And this is how we can develop kids and give them the right mindset, because you have to share right along with it. Because like I said, your words have weight. The other part of this coin, when I said it, talked about accountability in all of this, is you can't make excuses. If your child messed up and got beat on a one-on-one, your child messed up and got beat on a one-on-one. It's that simple. It's not because his defense partner was out of position or the forward coughed up the puck. He got beat. That simple. You have to learn to own that, right? Hockey and sports in general, and a lot of things like life, force you to have to be able to steel yourself in the moment after something bad happens, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back out there. Do it again. We see this in goalies all the time. Goalies are the biggest advocates for this. If they can get scored on, and it's a really bad goal that they should have had, or they cough up the puck and it gets plastered into their own net, they have to be able to shake that off and take the next shot like nothing ever happened. They need to be able to block that out and focus at the task at hand. This is not easy, right? And this takes years to develop, where a goalie doesn't get rattled. Same thing with players. You have to be able to do that. But the only way you can do it is if you don't make excuses. If you screwed up, you screwed up. Own it, learn from it, move on. If you make excuses and blame the coaches or blame the refs or blame the other players or the players on your team, you're not teaching your child anything. They're just making excuses. So nothing's ever their fault, so therefore they didn't do anything wrong and they never have to learn anything because they're actually the best player on the team, I guess, apparently. So this doesn't help them. They have to see the reality of their actions or inactions in order to grow. And that's very important. I'm not saying blast them with it. I'm not saying sugarcoat it either. But you have to be realistic in what's going on. So that's a lot for the players and the parents. But allow me to jump in and give you a couple insights into coaches and kind of debunk a couple of ideas that parents sort of have and that I've learned over the years. So the first off, my kid doesn't get enough ice time. Okay. How long should a shift in hockey be? How long should your child be out there for every shift? Minute and a half? 2 minutes? 3? To shed some light on it, the average shift of hockey should be, and this is proven, 45 seconds. 45 seconds is the amount of time that you can take to go as hard as you can before you're out of gas. Right? And most kids can't even keep going for 45 seconds. They have to take a break before then. So the whole idea in hockey, it being the fastest team sport in the world, is to always have fresh legs out there, a fresh body, right? Keep changing your lines as fast as you can. We have figured that 45 seconds, when I say we, I mean the hockey community in its mass, 45 seconds is about the best amount of time for a kid or a player to be out there. Get out, go as hard as you can, so on and so forth. Get done what you need to get done, get off the ice, get rested. So if you have 3 lines, that's 45 seconds on the ice, a minute and a half to get your heart rate back down. That's about the amount of time so the acid doesn't start to build up in your legs and your muscles don't get as fatigued. You can actually play longer doing this kind of a rotation. A lot of coaches adhere to this. Now, I'm not talking about like you get a whistle and so on and so forth. No, 45 minutes of playtime. 45 seconds of playtime. That's how long you should be out there to get a minute and a half rest and then get back out on the ice. This is the best way to go about it. So the idea that you want your child out there for 3 minutes, I'm telling you this right now. After about a minute, your child becomes a pylon to the fresh players that are coming off the other bench. They don't have the gas to keep it up. So if you can understand that and explain that to your kids, that's important. Because again, this is a team sport. You rise and fall as a team. You score 5 goals, but your team still lost. Guess what? You still lost. You're the best player on the losing team. Great. But if you all put in an effort, that's more important. So the 45 seconds, that's the rule. Now, will coaches run it, like change things up in the last couple minutes of a game? Yeah, we will. Why? Because we might be in a situation that calls for a certain player that has a certain skill set that could be advantageous to put them on the ice, and maybe we get that extra goal. Or maybe we put out a more defensive player because we're trying to hold the fort against a 6-on-5 because the other team pulled their goalie. So we do these things. So we have to adjust in those moments and in those situations. The other thing that I hear the most about is my child should be on the top line. Okay. I just want to understand what is the top line in a parent's mind. Because from my understanding, every team I've ever played on, your top 3 players are normally spread out across 3 lines to balance it. Now, they may see the power play and penalty kill or something like that a little bit more often. They may get double shifted if it's a center or you're down a man or something. But for the most part, players aren't put together because of them just being the best players on the team. Players are put together on lines because they have a chemistry and a certain play style that complements each other. So if you have 2 players that are really, really fast and another player that isn't as quick as them, but is a grinder and a digger in the corners, maybe that won't work with these 2 players because those players are faster. Maybe it will work because this is the player that's going to go into the corner or stay in front of the net and fight for that puck and dig it out. These are the things that coaches have to weigh. They have to understand, how do I put these players together that they fit and they make the most sense? And that's important. So just because your child is not on the first line, and just so you know, the first line, the top line, doesn't always start the game. Just so you're aware of this. We rarely ran like first line is out at the first shift of every game. It's one shift, 45 seconds, the next line's on the ice. It means nothing. Right? So you have to understand the coaches are balancing constantly and adjusting to every player and every line and their opponent at the same time. That's what we do. So just because your child's not in the first line doesn't mean a lot. That doesn't mean that they're valued any less. It just means they have a better chemistry with somebody else. And they probably will start a game at some point. So parents tend to focus on these things because they're right in front of their face. It's easy to understand. Oh, Connor McDavid always starts the game. Austin Matthews always starts the game because they're the best players. Not the NHL to start. And Connor McDavid doesn't always start the game. And he won't always start a period. The coaches will put out their top players when they need them most. But if another team puts out, say, their second line, and you know in the last game your third line took it to these guys, you're going to put your third line out. Just to send a message right out of the gates. So just breaking out of that idea that, again, blaming somebody else for your child not being where they should be, it's a cop-out. Coaches are doing the best they can with what they have, right? They're trying to give all the kids equal ice time and equal opportunity to develop. And that's important. But a lot of that development, it's not the coach's, 100% the coach's responsibility. It comes down to the kid. Putting in that commitment, that focus, that effort, and that desire to become better. Making that choice that I spoke about earlier. Sorry guys, quick interruption for the video. We're actually going to be changing how the video format is going to go for Trapped Under Ice. As much as I'd like to put out a full-length podcast every week, it's becoming a bit of a tricky situation for timing-wise, so I'm actually going to start putting the podcast out every second Friday and have a shorter video in between that hits on a couple of the key things, like what gear to buy, how to check gear over, what are the quick things I can do here and there, and a couple of things in minor hockey. It doesn't take as much time to really dig into. So that'll be starting up next week. Episode 4 won't be hitting until 2 weeks from now. So anyways, just a quick announcement about that and how things are going to work out. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Now, with all that being said, here's something that you can really do in the off season that'll improve your chances. Here's something that's going to make you a better hockey player, and make your kid a better hockey player in the off season. And as an added bonus, it's going to cost no real effort to talk about, no physical effort, because this is all mental. What you should do in the off season is learn this game. And when I say that, what I mean is learn the theory behind it. Learn your breakout patterns, your defensive zone strategies, your offensive zone entries, right? All of these things. Learn those. Learn all the positions where everybody is supposed to be on the ice for any number of breakouts. Use the simple ones first, right? And then work your way up. These are the things that are going to make your child stand out. If every time your child who, say, plays center is in the defensive zone and they're supporting their defenseman that's in the corner fighting for the puck, your coach is going to realize that this kid knows the box plus one pattern for defensive zone coverage. If your child is a winger, and as soon as the defenseman comes from behind the net, their own net, your child is standing at the half boards waiting for that pass, the coach is going to realize this kid already knows this breakout. All of these things. Know where to be, where the puck is going to go, how this whole thing is going to work. Understand what it takes to be on a penalty kill or a power play, where everyone's supposed to be and what the most common strategies are for this and why, and learn all the positions. So you could honestly walk up to a whiteboard and draw it out. You can map it out. This is something that will increase your odds of getting picked for a higher level team tenfold. If you already know these things, it'll show on the ice that you know where you're supposed to be and where everybody else is supposed to be. That way, if something does go sideways in a game, since you know this, you'll be able to react faster. Learn different face-off options in offensive and defensive zone. How you can go from a face-off to a quick breakout pattern on the opposite side. Learn these things. There's countless videos of this online that you can work on and figure these things out. But the biggest thing is learn all the positions, so your hockey knowledge grows. That is one of the things that coaches take so long trying to teach kids is hockey theory. How these things, all these bits and pieces, and all these drills that you've been working on fit together. If you already know that stepping on the ice, you will make an impact. I guarantee you that. When it comes down to the physical side now, when it comes to training, a couple of things to keep in mind in the off season. One, stay in shape. So be active. Play basketball, play soccer, play whatever. Just be out and be active is the biggest thing. But for those kids that are truly driven and they want to really make an impact, a word of warning. Most kids, when they think they need to train for something, think they need to hit the weights. Now, I'll say this. I am not a doctor. I'm not a kinesiologist. I'm not a physiotherapist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not into sports medicine. I'm nothing of the sort. I am a coach in hockey, and that is it. But I can tell you from experience, while watching some of my friends when we were coming up through the ranks of hockey, hit the weights too early and did significant damage to their bodies. Because their body was still growing. While your body is growing, hitting heavy weights is actually going to damage your body. I've seen this. I've talked to a number of physiotherapists and coaches and people in sports medicine and things like that, and I've asked them a question straight out. What about push-ups and sit-ups and things like that, using your own body weight? And they're like, that is fine. That is totally okay because you're mimicking your own body's movement. That's okay. Work on things like endurance, going for a run. And for hockey, it's burst power, so sprinting and things like that. Work on your flexibility, right? That which is always important. Having good flexibility can avoid injury. Your strength training should only be with your own body weight. Push-ups and sit-ups and things like that are totally fine, right? Squats or what have you. All of these things are okay because you're utilizing your own body weight. But again, it would be in your best interest to consult somebody that is educated in these things to the utmost, so they could design something for you that will allow you to develop, to get stronger, and not do any damage. While the body is growing when you're a child, it is very important to be careful that you're not doing any damage in that moment. Because as much as we may like to think that kids are, they're resilient and they can bounce back from anything, which is mainly true, doing this kind of damage can be a lifelong thing. So please, parents and kids, be careful when you're talking about strength training. Make sure you know what it is, consult a professional, and move on from there. Now, we all know, like, you can go out into the driveway or into a parking lot or what have you, shoot the ball and shoot the puck and all these things. Utilize YouTube. If you're having trouble with your shot, break out YouTube videos, and there are countless ones that talk about proper form to taking a wrist shot, right? And we all know there's a lot of different movements in a wrist shot, from like your body position to where the puck is to be on the blade of the stick, where your hands are supposed to be in relation to the puck, the shifting of weight and power transfer from your back foot to your front foot, all of these things. So take your time with it, learn it, but like anything, and like I said in the beginning of the video, practice and repetition and hard work. Eventually, you will become an expert at anything, but it does take time. And remembering that is important. So those are the ideas for the strength training or the physical training side of things. But I'm going to tell you right now, what I spoke about when I said learn this game and learn the hockey theory, that is so critical. Because if you know this game inside and out, you will excel. Everybody used to be so amazed with Wayne Gretzky. It's almost like he knew where he was supposed to be before the puck even got there. Yeah, because he understood this game better than anybody. And he just showed everybody what that could do. And he is an amazing hockey player. He will always be the great one. And he was the great one primarily because he realized this earlier. And we all heard the stories about how if he wasn't at school or asleep, he was on the rink in his backyard. Hard work, dedication, effort, a focus, a goal. These are the important things. Understanding this game at a mental level and understanding the theory behind it can elevate your game tenfold, more than having a really hard slap shot. So, guys, what I suggest to all of you in the off season, set a goal and crush it. Put everything in place that'll allow you to achieve that goal and go after it like your hair's on fire. Make that commitment. Burn the ships. Commit. And dedicate yourself to what you want to achieve. These are the things that will truly elevate your game and get you what you want. And parents, remember what I said. Your voices and your words have weight. Empower your kids. Push them. Encourage them. Don't diminish them. Don't make excuses for them. And believe in them. Get them what they need, and they will impress you. They'll make you proud. And for the coaching side of me, take what I said and just think about it. Just because your kid's not on the ice doesn't mean the coach has a hate on for them. They have a plan. And every coach is out there to develop every kid on their team. That's what they want to do. Like I said, coach can only show them the path to take and teach all of the parts of hockey that fit together. It's up to your child to have the focus, the commitment, the drive, the determination, and the passion to put those pieces together and to take that path to become a better hockey player. Coach can't force them to do that. I had a coach in volleyball that after one of my friends got cut, I actually asked him, why did he get cut? He was one of the best players here. And he turned to me and was like, you can't teach passion. I understood what he meant in that moment. My friend, didn't really seem like he wanted to be there, or he wouldn't give that extra effort. That wasn't good enough for the coach. So anyways, I'll leave you all with that. Again, the next podcast won't be out next week, but the week after. We're going to be switching it to the 2-week rotation for the longer podcast. We'll have some shorter videos in between. And that's how we're going to do things moving forward. We might change it back. We'll see how things go. But as of right now, that's the plan. Anyways, guys, take what I've said, roll it around. See how this can fit in your game plan as we move into the next season of hockey. Enjoy your summer, right? But keep it in the back of your mind. If this is a goal that you have, do what you can so when the tryouts start, you can crush it. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Share it around, like and subscribe. And remember, practice like you play.